It's time for us to review what the papers are reporting today. It's the new news review segment. As we do always, we'll give you the headlines before we delve into the details. Let's start with the news center. Now, on the front page of the news center, it says Mafi Adidome to host 2025 mini Anlo Hobechochoza. The details are on page 7 there. Lumbe's first wife seeks to injunct burial plans. Whoa, that'll be big. Details are on page 4 of the news center. Cervical cancer vaccination target 2.4 million girls. Details there on page 4 as well. And Telecel leads cervical cancer fight. Donates advanced diagnostic equipment. Sponsors nationwide free screening. That's the details of that particular story on Telecel leading the fight against cervical cancer is at the back page of the news center. Newspaper. Well, let's do the Ghanaian publisher now. And Army not for aged NDC foot soldiers. That's according to Reverend Intim Fojo, who is ranking on the Defense and Interior Committee of Parliament. There, the details are on page 3 of the publisher, the Ghanaian publisher. CID invites Kolendi over Jakpa case. Whoa, you remember that Jakpa petitioned the CID over the former Attorney General. Another group also petitioned President Mahama over, Justice Kolendi and the Acting Chief Justice. Interesting, but Justice Kolendi, we are being told by the Ghanaian publisher that he's being invited by the CID over Jakpa's case. What are the details? Check page 2 of that paper. NIMOS leads major anti-Galamsey raid, and it comes with a photograph of a Chinese sitting on the floor at one of the Galamsey sites. And MPP conduct presidential ballot today. Who will occupy which position? We will get to know. And of course, we'll delve into that particular story on our top stories. Now, let's do the daily guide now. And gold reserves reach record 37 tons. Even that is a record. Some people are questioning, why would Ghana produce all of those gold and have only 37 tons in its reserve when other countries are having 200, 2,000 and 3,000. Well, Wontumi sweats over 25 million Ghana cedis bail. We had the lawyers talking about it, but details of that story is on page 3. MPP ad hoc committee begins flag bearer campaign monitoring. They say they will be monitoring to see if you indulge or you indulge in campaigning that slights your other candidate, they will deal with you. So that's it. Dan Lumbe's wife, children seek funeral injunction. Interesting story. There you can get the details on page, I think, 8 of the paper. Let's do the daily analyst now. And on the front page, Lumbe's wife is still there. Akosua Sewa goes to court, insists she's the only legal widow. Interesting development there. Jomoro chief refutes illegal mining allegations. You can get the details there. Mahama's government will recruit based on real needs, not politics. That's according to Neil and Van der Poy there. GJA launches 29th Media Awards. Otumfo to host historic ceremony at Menchia Palace. We go to Kumasi with the awards now. And Tanaunya Forest Reserve, Chinese Burkinabe nationals busted over Galamsey. So some foreigners, with the aid of some greedy Ghanaians, are really causing terror on our environment. They've been arrested. Mahama's government will not restrict free speech. That's according to Kwachi Ofosu. On the back page, it says Professor Kwesi Enin confirms missing ammunition from Defense Ministry Armory. Okay, that's but the details are there. Amnesty International Ghana launches UG chapter, calls for total abolition of death penalty. And Atebubu Amantin MC assures resolution of perennial water crisis there. Let's do the Ghanaian Times now. On the front page of the Ghanaian Times, VIP urges equal terms for Africa in world trade. Details of that story are on page 12 of the Ghanaian Times. CIRRA framework set stage for stronger business turnaround culture, according to Dr. Justice Srimsai there. 30-year-old cobbler confesses to 15 murders in Wa. I'm sure yesterday you followed Joy News and the details that we brought you on that particular story. One person confessing that he has killed 15 people. But threatened flight safety at Sunyani Airport, Ghana Airport Company Limited, is warning there. Get details of that particular story on page 12 of the Ghanaian Times. Let's do the daily gist now. And on the front page, no cash for ministers. Atoforsen locks up salaries and allocations. And someone was asking me, is this true? Get the details of this particular story on page 3. But of course, you remember that we spoke to the Minister for Labour and Employment, and he reviewed this. So at least if you have been following Joy News, you have details of that, but get details as well on page 3 of the paper. Mohammed's $12 million diplomatic appointment spark controversy. Appoints Opon Pepra Deputy High Commissioner. Read the full story on page 12. How did they get a $12 million? Quite an interesting one there. Dan Lumbe's wife sues family to halt funeral arrangements. CID to probe Justice Kolendi over alleged collusion with Jakpa in ambulance scandal trial. So get the details on page 2 of the daily gist. Now, as we've done with the papers, let's do the reigning CIMG news portal of the year, My Joy Online. What are we reporting? Now, if you go into My Joy Online, it says we are already there. Kofi Adams says Black Stars have sealed World Cup qualifications. And Sunday, I think we'll wrap it all up at the Accra Sports Stadium. It will be a party. So let's meet there on Sunday and see we celebrate in our qualification. They listened and delivered. Kofi Adams praises Black Stars, fighting spirit. Parliament to resume sitting on October 21. And MPP set for balloting ahead of 2026 presidential primary today. So that is My Joy Online there. Let's do City Newsroom now. And on the front page of the City Newsroom, MPP flag bearer aspirant to ballot for positions today. And we brought you a story about this earlier. We'll be keeping an eye on this because on our top stories, we'll be dealing with it. Park Mohammed's push for swift prosecution of corrupt officials commendable, Edem Senanu says. And U.S. Department of Homeland Security now plans to deport Abrego Garcia to Ghana. And that has been a story I've seen a lot of people talk about on Facebook. Go and read the details. Abrego Garcia is ready to be deported to Ghana. A lot more people have been sharing their thought on this particular move by the government to accept that Abrego Garcia should be deported to Ghana. So that is it there. But I mean, that's an interesting one there. Let me go to my panel even before I join them on the table and get their thought. But Professor Isaac Bodi is the Dean of the Department of Accounting and Finance of UPSA. He's a solid finance man there. And then there is Kwame Nkrumah Botio. He is the General Secretary of the Convention People's Party, the independence winning party of Ghana. He's a lawyer as well. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
Okay. So let me start with you, Prof. Let me pick your initial comments before we delve into the details.
Yes, good morning, and good morning to your viewers as well, and good morning to my colleague. There was a news on your portal, your news portal, on the 7th, October 7th, on BOG, very simple caption. BOG commences intervention program, and they plan to spend about 1.15 billion to help stabilize the city in the forex market. In fact, when I read that story, my heart skipped a bit. I was a bit confused. I asked 3 different questions. Is it a normal practice for central banks to do this? That was the first question I asked. And the second question that I also asked was the fact that under which conditions are such interventions appropriate? And the third question that I asked, are we there yet as a country? In fact, if you go back to the first question that I asked, selling $1.15 billion forex, it's like using your last savings to impress your landlord. Bold, but broke. You know?
But Prof, when it comes to the central bank intervening in the, in the market to control the city, we know that they do it, right? All governors have done it in the past. This is not new.
Yeah, so that was why I asked the first question, is it normal for central bank to engage in such activities?
And the answer is yes.
The answer is obviously yes. In fact, in orthodox monetary management, central banks are allowed to do that. And they do that on simple basis, 3 different bases. One is to smooth out volatility in exchange rates on market. And again, they do that to supply liquidity when the demand pressures arise. You have no other option. And 2, when you think that you want to control, support price stability. These are, I think, 3 or 4 conditions under which the central bank are allowed to do that. I also asked the third question, under which condition can we also do this?
Okay.
And mostly when we have forex reserves are strong, you can do that.
Okay.
And especially when you have your import cover hovering at 4.2 between 4 to 6, you can allow to do that. Then you also have inflation targets when you're within your target range. And target range for Ghana, the medium to long term is about 8 plus or minus 2. That's within 6 and 10. One is within. You can now do that. Again, if you also look at your fiscal stance, when you think that you have your deficit not too much, you can do that. These are the conditions under which interventions are appropriate. And the question I ask, are we there yet as a country?
Okay.
If you pick the statistics, the data from BOG, clearly it tells you that our forex reserve, per the August figure we had, was about 10.7 billion. That's the forex reserve position. 10.7. So if we have 10.7 gross international reserve, and if you deduct your incumbent assets and all that, you get your net about 8.5. So what it means is that if you deduct 1.15 from your gross, which is 10.7, you are almost about 9.5 billion.
That's still substantial.
Yeah, that's substantial. But it forms about 14% of the injection that you want to do.
Okay, Prof. I'm grateful to you. This is just initial, so we'll get into the details later. Let me bring in the General Secretary of the CPPS. Your initial comment.
Thank you, my brother, and good morning to your cherished listeners. I have at the top of my mind the housing situation in Ghana, especially with the recent floods. Over the past few days, I happened to travel outside Accra. On my way back, I went through a lot of flooded residential areas on my way home, on the border of the central region, getting into Accra. That is the Kasua, Weja, and other areas. Not to say it's limited to those areas. And it's a serious problem that sometimes we tend to gloss over. Statistics by the World Bank show that there's a housing deficit of 2 million units in Ghana. That's the World Bank, but the government statistics say it's 1.8 million, whichever way it is. When it rains, even the places where the houses are supposed to be in order, they are flooded, and we still have a lot of people sleeping on the streets. And if you look at page 4 of the 7-year development plan, it is stated there that when there is adequate housing, to paraphrase, social tensions go down. A lot of the social tensions we have in society, in around us now, a lot of the mental issues and all that, it's because some are struggling to pay their rent, others to even own their own houses. But they are susceptible to floods. And I would want to commend Joy FM for their recent Habitat Fair. I followed it, and there were a lot of good offers there.
Okay.
And I think we as a country should take a good look at our housing system. The same 7-year development plan kicked against overdependence on cement and steel, because a lot of it has to be imported. Fortunately, we manufacture a lot of our cement now with Jata cement and others. And the 7-year development plan proposed that we depend more on swish and brick. We have to revisit that in order to make up the housing deficit, because we have a lot of people who have a lot to offer this country, but all their resources is going into payment of rent and others. Let's go back to the blueprint by the CPP in the 7-year development plan and sort out all these issues.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, Prof. and lawyer, for that. I mean, a lawyer would always find a way to bring in the CPP, you know, and its 7-year development plan, which, of course, had we followed it well, would have, according to India estimation, would have led to Ghana.
Not too late.
Well, yeah, so let's see. Maybe Ghana can go back for it now, and then we'll see. But we're also expecting to be joined by Elikem Kotoko, who is the Deputy CEO for the Forestry Commission and Deputy National Organizer of the NDC as well, for us to go into the papers. But gentlemen, something struck me on the papers, and I think that, okay, it was when we're reviewing the online.
Yeah.
The issue about the Garcia guy being brought into Ghana. When I remember when I mentioned you, your reaction was quite, you know him, you read about him.
I brought him up, I think, the last time I was on the show, about 2 weeks ago, when we were discussing the 14 deportees. I brought up the issue of Garcia, who was deported from the U.S. to a South American country. And the U.S. courts ordered for him to be brought back to the U.S. And he was taken back to the U.S. So I'm at a loss as to how somebody who has been ordered to be brought back to the U.S. by a U.S. court is now being deported to Ghana. I mean, apparently he's a young man in his 20s who is legally supposed to be in the U.S. But I'm at a loss as to why he's coming to Ghana. Well, I'm here to see more about the story. It's possible that the court has probably ruled that he can be deported to Ghana, of which we'll need to take a closer look and take it from there. But I think he's one young man who has been through a lot in his immigration issues. And I find it interesting that he end up in Ghana. Because I don't see, I mean, from even his appearance and everything, I don't see his relation to Ghana or West Africa. Because I heard that we're taking in deportees of West African or African descent and forwarding them to their country. So is he going to come to Ghana for us to now deport him back to, I've forgotten which country he was originally deported to, but one of those South American countries. So it's a very interesting case I've been following.
Now, when you go onto my Joy Online, it says the Department of Homeland Security said it now plans to deport Kilmer Abrego Garcia to Ghana, according to a notice from the agency of his attorneys to his attorneys. DHS previously said it was planning to deport Abrego Garcia, who was wrongly deported to El Salvador, and then brought back to the U.S. to Eswatini and Uganda.
Wow.
That's where they wanted to previously take him to. Now, attorneys for Abrego Garcia will be in court on Friday for an evidentiary hearing in which government witnesses are expected to testify about the steps taken to remove him to Eswatini or elsewhere. Abrego Garcia, a Salvadorian a Salvadoran native who had been living in Maryland with his wife and children, was deported in March to El Salvador's Secot mega prison, despite a 2019 court order barring his deportation to the country due to fear of persecution. I says Trump was, now if you go here, he was brought back to the US in June to face human smuggling charges in Tennessee, to which he has pleaded not guilty. After being released into the custody of his brother in Maryland pending trial, he was again detained by immigration authorities who indicated their intention to deport him. Last week, an immigration judge denied a motion by Abrego Garcia's attorneys to reopen his immigration case. So it means that he's being tried for human trafficking, right? Yeah. Anyway, let's see. Prof, what do you make of this?
In fact, I have no idea.
No idea about it. But I mean, isn't this Ghana showing that welcome door to accept and welcome anyone who needs a home? We've always been known as that hospitable, those hospitable people. Isn't it then in our nature to open our doors to someone who is being, even though he's been accused of human trafficking, but has not been convicted on it?
Yeah, I don't have a full story about this incident, but the point is that Ghana, this is what we are known for. We receive a lot of people. We are good to other nationalities, and that's what we are known for. Beyond Ghana, this is what often happens. But the point is that we have other people who have also moved to other jurisdictions and that are also be received well by those citizens in those countries. But it shouldn't be at our cost when we do this. We should verify the backgrounds of these individuals. We go through the proper system of integration if we are to do this. But the caveat is that we should not do this at our expense. Check the backgrounds of these individuals because the long-term effects are there for us to go through. So we think that once we have not established, I don't have facts about what really happened. Ghana, we are noted for this. But the point is that whatever we do should not cost us that much.
Elikem, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Good.
Elikem is my Takrade brother, but I mean, Elikem, I mean, why is government making it look as though Ghana is helping the US on this draconian measure of deporting people, where we have opened our doors to say, okay, if you need a home for your people, bring them here?
Thank you very much, my brother. I'm not sure government is making an effort to seem to be harboring the very interests of the United States of America, but rather we are showing strength as the very black star of Africa that consistently have pushed for an agenda of a common or a single African country. And I believe that humanity also demands that there's always the need to be there for some. Not only because of the case in point, which has not been fully gone through court proceedings for him to be found guilty though, but I think that, and we are all aware that when these things happen, it is to allow for some form of integration and rehabilitation as well. And I'm not sure that this is to mean that Ghana will become whoever it is a permanent home. It could just be another transit as well. That just as you are aware of the recent ones, preparations were done for many to go to their respective countries. And so I do not think it is a reason for worry at all. I know that as a country, a sovereign state for that matter, we can say yes to certain things and again say no. And so we always trust that the people in charge of affairs have or do the appropriate background checks and come to the conclusion to allow for such.
But Elikem, I mean, when you say we want to really live up to our black star, that's for our brothers and sisters from the African continent. And those who came and they were sent from Togo, Benin, Nigeria. But this is from El Salvador. The Gitmo 2, are they here or they are gone?
Yeah.
I don't recall. I mean,
Because they got integrated into the Ghanaian society, right?
well,
I think they even got married.
Yes.
But that should even tell you. I was going to mention that, and I forgot the number, whether it was Gitmo 2 or 4, so I couldn't.
Gitmo 2.
And so the Gitmo 2 also. And that alone even tells you, after all the hue and cry over them, for instance, what has been the situation? This is not to in any way rub anything in anybody's face, but we've got a lot more challenges on our hands that are even internal and aggressive than some of these things we want to look at based on the fact that they have gotten some international recognition over whatever be the case. So there's some fear driven in us that, hey, Gitmo 2, this, that. But no fear, no cause for alarm after all. We are told they have integrated so well, even married enough in our settings. Yes, we may be looking at an African continental unity, but it doesn't rule out the fact that we are also in a global space that humanity requires of us to still see each other as one. And if not, why would we be part of the United Nations anyways? And so, yes, if there are genuine concerns over some of these things, I think that it is appropriate. But it doesn't rule out the fact that we cannot pretend to say we will not open our arms to those we can. And definitely, I am very convinced that government will not take a hasty decision into welcoming persons who may be seen to be a threat to a single soul in our own country.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much there. Let's go into the papers and start from the Daily Guide newspaper. On page 3, gold reserves reach record 37 tons. The country's gold reserves has climbed to 37.06 tons at the end of September 2025, according to the latest data from the Bank of Ghana. The central bank's report shows that the country's gold holdings have maintained a consistent upward trajectory since May 2023, when reserves stood at 8.78 tons. Over the subsequent 16 months, the figure has more than quadrupled, reflecting the bank's aggressive accumulation strategy under the Domestic Gold Purchase Program, the DGPP, and the Gold for Reserves Initiative. From June 2024 to September 2025, reserves increased by almost 14 tons, underscoring the effectiveness of the central bank's policy to use gold as a stabilizing asset in foreign reserves management. Look, Prof, I would want to start with you because this is your forte. Now, if you look at the idea is to use gold to, stabilize the asset in foreign reserves management. And if our reserves is around 37, I mean, what can we do? What can this 37 do in stabilizing our asset? And what more can we do to even improve our situation?
In fact, when you mentioned what can we do to improve the situation of the question?
Yeah, I mean to improve the reserves. Got 37 tons. Last 2 weeks or so, we did the averages, and Algeria was doing 2,000 or 3,000. We're doing 37.
Yeah, I was just looking at the same data here when you mentioned the figures. In fact, before this administration took over, the position of gold holdings in terms of tons was a figure of 30.5.
Okay.
So in January, we moved to 31. So we added 1 ton. Then in the month of June, we had moved to 33 tons. And then in the month of July, we have moved to 34.4. And the figure gave me per September, I'm sure, because we had done 36 in August. And then in September, you are giving us
37.06.
You realize that we have moved from 31, or when they took over 30, all the way. So we added about 7 tons. And that comes in, what can we do with the tons, and what can we do to improve? We have a program for gold for oil.
Reserves.
That is
good for oil.
So 2 different programs. The gold for oil, initiated by the Eswell administration. And then we have the gold reserves also by this administration. I mean, it's been there for increasing our reserves. What do you do with the reserves? it helps as a buffer against, it helps increase our reserves, of course. Reserves it cannot be only in gold. It could be so many other factors that we put together. But a portion of gold, because we export cocoa, we export gold and all that. So reserves, when we have more, it helps, it takes care of any external shocks. I don't know per what I stated when you were doing the review, the news. Could that be the reason why BOG now wants to, part of our reserves, reduce a portion of our reserves, just to help curb a bit volatility in the market? Could that be the reason? Because we seem to have an increase of almost about 7 tons.
Also, this is not part of the 10 billion in reserves that you mentioned, right? The gold is different.
No, reserves is part of.
So this is all part.
It forms part of our reserves. Okay. Our reserves mainly could be in the area of assets. Okay. Mainly asset, gold is part, and that. So when put together, you can have a figure of which we have been told 10.7 billion. Ghana's figure that we have. Now, out of this figure is what BOG now tells us that they want to remove 1.1 billion to help stabilize our currency. And I gave you conditions under which we can do that, and the conditions under which we cannot do some of these things. But the point is very clear. If you have your net international reserves, and it's close to 8.3 billion, and you say you want to take out 1.1 billion to help stabilize it, that's close to about 14% of your gross. The problem we have with this initiative, and I said it's normal for BOG to do that, but the problem we have, when we have an event of shock, external shock, our country will find it difficult to survive. Okay. And now, if we have inflation is now hovering around 9.7.
Single digit.
Single digit. We are happy about it, it's fine. Although there is month-to-month pressure a bit, moving from 11.5 to 9. If you are recording such gains and you want to throw or move funds into the forex market to help stabilize the city, what in effect you are trying to do, if those injections are not sterilized, it means that plans are not there to mop up the effect that you reverse. It reverses your gains. That's where we have problem. Again, if you look at our position in terms of our fiscal position, it's a bit weak. We have GDP, debt to GDP is about almost 45%, by the latest data that we had. So our overall total deficit is, I think, negative 1.4 or so. If you want to do this, you don't have a space to take care of, sustain your salaries cost. When you throw out that money into the market and you want to mop up through your T-bills and all that, it costs you. And those costs, if you have a deficit in terms of your overall total deficit of this amount, you have a problem to take care of those costs. So what can we do with what we have? I think BOG, this approach, we should consider it again. Because when you keep doing this, you end up reversing all the gains that you made over the period of time.
Okay, all right then. But let me come to the Deputy CEO of the Forestry Commission, because, you know, some people have also raised the issue about this policy and its impact on Galamsey activities. For you as Forestry Commission, what do you think the BOG should do to ensure that, although we want to increase our gold reserves, we don't then also contribute to the increase in Galamsey activities in the country?
Yeah, thank you. I think the BOG may have very little to contribute in that regard, but it may be government as a whole. And it is in that state that the government through the sector minister, Honorable Emmanuel Amakofibua for Land and Natural Resources, has set up the NAMOS, National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat. That singular task force is mandated to nip in the bud the Galamsey menace we are all confronted with. On daily basis, they've been up and doing, trying to ensure that the scourge of this illegal mining is brought to its barest minimum, because not only for the economic reasons, but also for our own human survival. And the fact that there's a need for money, or a country needs money, or gold is of such economic value, does not mean that all activities, be it right or wrong, should be countenanced to do so. If you recall the times in Liberia, is it the blood diamond they called it? Yes.
Sierra Leone.
Sierra Leone. Yeah, it cannot be the case. And so, well, I can only say for sure that with what I see the NIMOS doing, for instance, they only require more resource and time. And this Galamsey menace will also be a thing of the past, because indeed it is a major concern for many that, okay, well, you can't tell which gold is what. And that is also another avenue. But one may also argue forcefully that if the illegality was being allowed to fester more, then it meant the 37 tons we were talking of maybe could have been maybe 38 tons or 40 tons by now. So the effort by government to also ensure that things are done right, which include the measures I put out on your platform some time ago about non-issuance of licenses into forest reserves, the excavators that are now being registered, tracked, and geofenced, the need to now repeal the proposal to repeal the LI 2462, declaring water bodies and forest reserves as security zones. But we all know that the illegality is not only at those two places, but it is even at locations that are far away from the river bodies and far away from the forest reserves. So enforcement is very key, which is another thing that one cannot take away from this government, 8-9 months in office, and putting in all the measures and effort to drive home that message that government or the president, it does not frown on mining, but frowns strongly on irresponsible and reckless mining, which is an illegality that has dire consequences, health effects, and environmental impact on you and myself sitting here.
Okay, all right. He says government is not contributing. Yeah.
Yes, I would think, of course, I defer to Prof and Elikem, but especially Prof, economics being his area. But as a layman, when it comes to economic terms, I would think that an increase in gold reserves is a good thing, because at the moment, gold is at an all-time high, at $4,000 an ounce.
Yeah.
And the USA is the largest holder of gold reserves in the world, with 8,000 and something tons at the moment. And having such large gold reserves, it's actually good for the economy. But so I think they should go ahead and then increase the reserves. And also I should add that, as Elikem said, juxtaposing with the blood diamonds issue in Sierra Leone, you should also make sure that you are getting the gold from the appropriate sources, whilst at the same time not neglecting other sectors of the economy. So I think it's a good thing, because if you look at the advantages of having gold reserves, it's an inflation hedge. It contributes to monetary stability, economic independence. And the US has successfully used this over the years. And we being known as the Gold Coast, we should tap into it.
Okay.
But it should be sustainable and environmentally friendly mining, not what we have at the moment, which is putting all our lives at risk.
Okay. Let me come back to Prof before I wrap this subject up. Now, our economy needs hard cash, right? Like the dollars that we're using to stabilize the currency. Must we then be focused on keeping the gold when we can sell and bring in the hard cash to support the currency?
You always ask very interesting questions all the time. And they are very, very instructive. Why do we keep all this? Must it not sell? And then use the earnings and do it. You know, before even I answer that question, the other thing I want to consider is the fact that with all this record that we are showing to the world, what is wrong in setting up a refinery as a country to add value to the gold that we export, that raw commodity? Today we are given a very good figure, 37% record, reaches record high. And it's a fact. What do we do? And then the question comes in, why do we keep all these reserves? And then we don't want to melt them and use it for our own good. It's good. But in life, whenever you receive your salary, do you consume all? And we see the country.
So many questions about that.
You consume all your salary. Bro,
you know, don't let him tell you when it's finished.
Because when he has a quick, we also have a you don't. And we operate the economy as at the micro level. But at the micro level, individual basis, the same thing that we do. Our spendings are more than our revenue. That's a normal thing we go through. So we try as much as possible to adjust, cutting down some cost to be able to have a buffer. And that's what we do as a country. How we get revenue as a result of the three categories that I mentioned, those we send outside and those we generate from inside. So when you have a situation like this, and you decide that let me throw everything out there, you know, we are also not, we don't know, the world, we are not our own. Other factors often will influence or affect economy. When we have pandemic, when we have a lockdown, when we have external shocks, this is what, as a country, we must have a buffer to be able to melt in critical situations. That's why we have a problem. When the government wants to put their hands into the buffer and decide, let me deplete some. When we don't have emergency in our country, is that a way to go? We can use other means, and other means available. We have a lot of things that we can do to be able to contain a situation as we find ourselves now. Not necessarily going into our buffer, what can help a country stabilize when we have a problem.
But when the prices are good, as you said, record high, $4,000, must we still be looking at the gold to say, well, we are shoring up the reserve for tomorrow? I mean, if we say that the reserve is, say, 37, and the thing is at record high, can't we sell part of it to boost the economy, and then we look at what we can do tomorrow? Or that's financially not sound?
Oh, no, I'm saying that touching your reserve, there's nothing wrong. But the point is that what will motivate you to touch your reserve?
Okay, we don't have an emergency now, so we don't have to touch
so what
it.
Okay.
That's okay, all right. When the finance guru has spoken, we all agree. Lawyer, let me bring you in this. Help us with the Wontumi one. Now, Delegate says it understands that the challenges with this has to do with the conditions of justification with landed property attached to the terms by both courts, making it difficult for persons to come forward and put their properties online for the accused. Yesterday, when we Joy spoke to the lawyer on Media News, he said the difficulty has to do with the land commission because the valuation department also has to then do the assessment and justification of the properties, and that's why. But from the point of law, must this be the reason someone, even though has been granted bail, will be in prison for over 48 hours?
No, I'm glad you brought this up because on my way here, I was listening to Chairman Wontumi's lawyer.
Okay.
Honorable Andy Apiakubi.
Yes.
I mean, he's one of the best lawyers I've come across. A perfect gentleman. He's my mate from the law faculty.
Oh, okay.
Very intelligent. I mean,
You went to law school together?
law faculty. They're gone.
What?
Yes, we're together.
Wow.
He came in as a mature student.
Okay.
And his son is also my mate from secondary school.
Oh, interesting. Mates with both the father and son.
And I think he's doing a good job. He's one of the lawyers that I think he's very objective. He does his job with a clear mind. He doesn't throw in all kinds of punches, and he doesn't allow his emotions. But he said something that, even though I myself am a practitioner in that area, he said something that I haven't really experienced before. It is true that sometimes when your client is granted bail, there may be some delays in having his documents processed. It is a reality. And it's not really a case of anybody being victimized. You know, a lot of our laws and our procedure is imported from the West. And we are adapting it to our indigenous circumstances as we go along. So we are leaving behind a lot of the past processes. But some of what we still practice, even the West has, or let me say the common law, the UK has let go of that. But he mentioned that when you go for the valuation, you have to part with as much as 1% of the value of the property. And so the property being 20 million, you, the accused, have to part to 200,000 Ghana cedis. And I was
like, cash.
I was like, wow. I mean, you are an accused, innocent until proven
guilty. Yeah.
And you now have to part to 200,000. We really need to take another look at our system. I'm not saying this person is to blame or that person is to blame, but we have a system where today we are, as you call in legal terms, a fly on the wall or an objective observer. But one day you could be the one caught in that net, and you have to part to 200,000 Ghana cedis, just like that. I know that our criminal justice system, as much as possible, tries to protect the rights of the accused. Sometimes people complain that the system protects accused persons too much. If you look at the immigration officer's case, I think there's been some complaints that it's dragging. Yeah. But I mean, that is how the system is. Try and have a balanced look at everything. So I think as for the bill value, I think Honorable himself, he didn't make too much noise about that.
But the value.
As to the processes to go through to come out.
Because yesterday he was lamenting that the state agencies were even delaying the process.
Yeah, but he said, fortunately, as of this morning, he said, fortunately, everything has gone through. He's left with Iyoko to transmit Chairman Wontumi's passport to the registrar of the court, which Iyoko says will do this morning.
Okay.
That means he'll be out by this afternoon. But it's something that we should all be concerned about, because being in such a situation, it can happen to anybody, whether they are innocent or guilty. Okay. And when we all speak out at the appropriate time, then we can have a fair trial. If you look at the footballer, is it Partey?
Yeah, Thomas Partey, yes.
He was given self-recognizance bail in his recent case. Honorable Godfrey Dame was given self-recognizance bail. We should be able to put in such systems in the long run to avoid people being deprived of their liberty, not because of any infraction on the part of the courts or the institutions, but because of the process itself, the bureaucratic nature of the process.
Let me bring in Elikem, because his office is partly associated not with the case, but with the reason why Chairman Wontumi is where he is. According to fact, I mean, we understand that his company and 3 others have been accused of causing, quote, extreme environmental destruction, including the devastation of approximately 13 hectares of land, unquote, in the Tano Nimre Forest Reserve with illegal mining activities. That's where Elikem comes in. Elikem, I mean, I'm sure you've been to the Tano Nimre, right?
Yes.
And what did you see there? I mean, looking at what you saw and where Wontumi is, what exactly is your expected end game to this particular matter?
So much destruction and so much impunity. I was trying to find the right word. Impunity and disregard for, be it humanity, law, order, and society, everything, and the environment in particular. And if you care to know, and that is not all. I mean, over the period, when we talk of Galamsey, to let the viewers appreciate the extent of damage so far, we have these people engaged in this enterprise have damaged over 5,500 hectares of our land. That is the equivalent of over 7,500 football pitches put together.
Wow.
And that 7,500 pitches put together.
Oy.
And it now requires a lot of money to again reclaim that. Mind you, for the statistics, in the past, and about $35,000 thereabout is spent to reclaim a hectare. So if you have to multiply that by 5,500, you're running into millions.
About how much?
$35,000. So that is
to reclaim a hectare.
To reclaim just a hectare of land. And it is the reason why these are serious matters we should take into consideration.
But Elikem,
and it is worrying.
Sorry.
Yeah.
The MC for Hunter West, Ebenezer Kofi did something the past week. He went into an area, saw that they had devastated the land, and got the miners to reclaim the land. Why aren't we using that when we catch you, like for example, this guy we're accusing of having done that in Tano Nimre, you say, okay, you've destroyed this number of hectares, reclaim it.
Tell you truth, that would sound the only way to a layman, like let's say you and myself.
Okay.
But again, to reclaim land is not just about covering the holes you have dug. So there's more to it about testing the soil and seeing what components, the toxicity of the soil, then recommending what can be done.
Yeah.
So we may be saying, I agree with you, at least for the start, if found there, please cover it up. But you know what happens often is that in these arrests that are done, one, most of these guys, the moment they see you, they are always already on the run. And you can usually not chase them. In fact, it is not advisable to chase them.
Yeah.
Reason being that they know the terrain very well. And if you try chasing them, you may fall into a pit.
Yes.
That is just the end of your life. So they know it themselves, which is why each time you try, they see, they immediately bolt. But you see, this damage is such that even though this matter is in court, I'm happy to have a lawyer here. I held a very strong reason until date. We recall at the time when Chairman Wontumi used to pride himself as a miner and display gold and all that, even at how do you call it? At TV, radio stations.
Yeah.
And that not enough, there were instances where the Fourth Estate, if I'm right, Manasseh's outlet, came up with information that, look, he was engaged in illegality.
That's even JoyNews. Erastus Asari.
Erastus. Kudos to Erastus for who he has become now more. And all of that. It brought some confusion even within government. When the sector minister also confirmed same, the president rather came out to say that Wontumi was not involved in any illegal mining. And that was the height of impunity for the president to be the one holding brief without allowing for any process to go through before. Meanwhile, this is the same president who doesn't seem to be abreast with things at the time. If you make mention of Aisha Wan, that he said he didn't know whether Aisha Wan was deported, but immediately his regional chairman was mentioned. He mounted the platform to tell us, so far as he was concerned. And I found some news items, a young lady also say at the time she was with NPP, it was a major issue that it brought a rift between the president and and the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources at the time and nearly cost him his job. But, well, that aside, I believe strongly that if found guilty, he should be dealt with according to law. I read elsewhere also that if found guilty, a sentence of 25 to 106 years would be what to be put on him.
What does that do?
What does that?
Why shouldn't we force them to reclaim the land?
That alone is not enough. But you see, all measures being put in are to serve not only as a punishment, but also as deterrent.
Yes.
If, for instance, a political figure who was very loud and known to have engaged in all of these and probably contributed to part of what we are seeing on the screens now, imagine that he is sentenced to 106 years. That is a strong warning to everybody that even the one who was part of a government has been sentenced to 106 years. So you who is an accomplice or who forms part of the tributaries, if found or culpable, will be dealt with according to law.
But why mustn't we add the reclamation to
I think I hold the same.
Because like you said, $35,000 per hectare. That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
And we are being told per the story
55,500
that this one has devastated 13 hectares of land, right? So 13 by 35,000. Then the guy spends his money, pays his money to the state. Or
yeah,
we are trying to reclaim the land.
Yeah,
he's destroyed 13 hectares. 13 by 35,000. That's your.
That alone is
bill.
That's almost $500,000.
Good.
US dollars.
So you have to pay that to the state.
I agree. And it is the reason why I side with the likes of Senor Jose with one of his strong propositions that we should put in place a policy of destroyer pays all, so that the very people who are caught and found to be culpable in these are made to pay. But you see, don't forget also that you can only now, when legal processes are kicked in motion, it means that the person is what? Not guilty until proven so. So even as you have caught him on site and you want to prosecute him, it means that in one breath, you probably do not even have the mandate to now say that I have caught you on the site in the act, fill this or do this. Even though I think in a military dispensation that actually can work easily. But I think it is not out of place to require that they do these things, which is also very good because with all these earth-moving equipment, especially the excavators that are being used in this exercise, don't forget that most often it may not even be an excavator you will need to do a reclamation. It will be a bulldozer that you will need to do that. An excavator can, but that will be at a very low pace. Yeah. And a bulldozer, rather, will do so. So the constraints with even asking them to do so instantly may not be. But when found guilty, I agree that part of the sentencing should include making them reclaim maybe 3 times of the damage they have done. And these things must be done. I believe relatively we are all young here. I am 43. And I get so worried that, and I make this example without any, I made the same yesterday at Public Services Commission's engagement with public services organizations in Ho yesterday, that you may be sitting somewhere and think you are not concerned. Maybe as we sit today, maybe as we are all sitting here today, your son, if you have a son who is maybe just 9 years, 10 years, is bound to marry maybe a girl who is from Takwa and in the next 15 years. Yeah. Maybe that child is born now and has been born with a defect. In the next 3 years, unfortunately passes. You will now be lamenting after 15 years that it's been 10 years now, Kweku, you are not getting married. Or that, meanwhile, you didn't care about what was happening somewhere else, forgetting that there could be a rippling effect that may have been affecting you. And that is just one leg of the many instances. The water we are drinking, the food we are eating, we are told to take a balanced diet. Now, as to whether we are taking balanced poison or not, we must all be concerned. If we are supposed to be taking fruits, how healthy is it? And so you worry sincerely. And if you are really patriotic and discerning, I do not think that the greed and wanton avarice for money could be justified enough to want to do all the damage that many are doing. And it is the major reason why one key thing we can do in addition to enforcement, policies, political will, all involvement, is advocacy. Advocacy is very key. Some may downplay its relevance and importance, but when we begin to imbibe in our children at the very early stage the negative or health impact of the environmental degradation, etc. We are cultivating in them that habit of knowing that water must always be clean, you must not pollute, you must always protect the environment. So if we're having the likes of the forest clubs, just as we were having the Red Cross, the wildlife, etc., the purpose of education is to transform and impact society. So we need to relook at all of this. And largely, you agree with me that one major problem with Africa generally is that our education remains standardized rather than to be customized. Because we need to now look at it. Look, when you take, you and I are on Western region or Volta region or Eastern, the problems in Western region are not the same as what is in Greater Accra. Yeah. The problems in the Eastern region are different from what is in Ahafo region. So we must be able to now start to look at how to customize our education to suit the environment. Somebody may say that maybe in another region there are more footballers than others. If you go to Bukom, for instance, nobody can take away the fact that we can get more boxers there. So we must be able to find a way. So even in the education sector over there can have sporting activity that will focus a little more on boxing. When you go to Western region, for instance, then there will be more on environmental related issues. When you come to maybe the city like Accra or Kumasi, it may be talking more about urbanization and all of this. So it's a huge task, though. We have to start from somewhere. Have we gotten there yet? No. Have we scratched? Are we on the path? Yes. But it involves the involvement of all of us. And not only criticizing. Criticism is never anything wrong. But when we criticize, we profess solutions and genuine solutions that we all believe that we must. I was very happy, let me say, when President Mahama met with the CSOs. He made it very clear
that you're wrapping up.
Yes. Do not shy away from criticizing us. Put our feet to the fire. And that is to say that, well, I am taking from you whatever loopholes you are identifying so we can improve on them. I am not right. I'm not always right because I'm also human. And so we all need to be involved. Okay. Some have raised it lastly, some have raised the concern that you are supposed to go after campaigns and all that. Well, yes, going after campaigns, I'm sure that we need to take these steps in the right direction in order to make sure that it serves as a major deterrent. Okay. Looking at the videos, it's very devastating. All right. Very, very devastating.
Thank you very much. Prof, let me bring you in here.
Yes. When I saw the headline, Wontumi sweat over
25 million.
Yeah, the problem.
But I had my heart in my mouth. You know, we learn from good practice and bad practice. Yeah. What am I learning from this? It tells me I have to live my life well.
Carefully.
If I don't, and I fall foul to the law, I have to pay such money. And me as a common teacher, how much do I have to be paid? So it's a lesson that I have picked out of it. I'm sure our viewers also will pick same lesson because recent fines and bail terms now, I mean, it's becoming one too many. Huge amount of money have been slashed on individuals. But if that's the law, that is fine because I am not a lawyer, so difficult to interpret all that. But the point is that the government should be brutal with this fight. And I was happy when the government met the CSO. And I also added a voice that those CSOs must attend, must go. Listen to the government.
This was like a week ago.
That's a week ago, yes. Listen to the government. Maybe there could be other solutions to our problem because this is a menace that it shouldn't take one person to fight. And that is why we've warned our politicians. They should be careful with their utterances. Because today, if you say anything against, the next day when the seat is handed over to you, and you are struggling, nobody will go back and pick the issues, what you talked about years ago, and hang you on. So it's a lesson that we need to pick. The government should be frontal, should deal with this issue. And solutions that we give to the government must also be implemented. In fact, after 1 week, I don't know whether you have seen the roadmap of the CSO meeting with the president. I have no idea. We are here to find out the roadmap in terms of implementations regarding those solutions that they gave to the government. We are here to see that. But if you go back to Wontumi's case, this is not the first time he has been picked. All right? It's not the first time. The first one was on the funds that he failed to pay. If you remember, the Yoko, I've forgotten.
The same Yoko.
And he has also been picked again. And it's about...
This one, I think it was also related with the first one. But this one, according to the AG, his charges were supposed to be read to him. And I think he delayed in coming. So then they had to pick him up.
But is it related to
yes.
environmental?
Yes, environmental. Because the first one, there were two things. The funds and environmental.
Okay.
And then environmental, they had conducted investigations and concluded. So the AG said his charges were supposed to be read to him and was supposed to come. I think that's why we.
But I'm concerned about these particular charges, environmental destruction. Any approach to deal with this menace, I'll go for it any day. This is another charge leveled against him. And I have also watched the space for some weeks now, months now. And I don't want to establish that relationship. I may be wrong. But anytime we have that heat in the system regarding Galamsey, then another person is picked. And when that person is picked, it becomes a discussion for the whole week. It's all about Wontumi.
Okay.
Then we go back to sleep. Then when there's another heat, another person is picked up.
But in this
But in this
case, 9 months is still arrest. They were in Cape 3 Point.
Yeah, which is good. I'm saying that it's a noise. It's good. It serves as a deterrent to other people. It's good. But we should not fancy that joy when an individual is picked. Rather, focus on the issue, the game plan. Okay. What are the game plan? And let's have a solution to our problem.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much. Our time is up, so I'll say thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming on the show today. Elikem Kotoko is Deputy CEO for Forestry Commission. Lawyer Botio is the General Secretary of the NDC. Is Kwame. I always want to call him Kojo.
CPP, said NDC.
I always want to say Kojo, but it's Kwame Nkrumah Botio, General Secretary of the CPP, the Independence Winning Political Party. Yes. Right? And then Professor Bodi is Dean, Department of Accounting and Finance, UPSA. There's a story I wanted us to go into it, but our time is up. So Prof, I'm telling you your thing is not it's faculty.
It's faculty.
Oh, it's faculty. But Prof there is not bothered by titles, right?
Oh, no.
Don't we get any closing statements?
Is that?
Normally you give us closing statements.
So I should give you,
Yes.
Okay.
My closing statements are always non-political.
Let me give you. Yeah. But I wanted you to touch on a 30-year-old cobbler confessing to murdering 15 people in Wa. Maybe you look at it in your concluding remarks. 15 year alone, 30-year-old.
For what?
So half of his age.
Ritual?
Those killings that were happening.
Mentally unstable.
Mental unstable people and watchmen.
I think he himself he has to be checked.
Okay. Is that a concluding comment?
And also, yesterday was my oldest nephew's birthday.
Okay.
Nathaniel Chache Modiche Tete.
Modiche Tete. Okay.
He was I think he was 14.
14.
Okay.
I want to
wish him a happy.
Okay. All right. Happy birthday to him. Prof, maybe you want to take a bite. Your last concluding remarks.
I don't have any conclusion. Okay. Just to tell viewers that your forms at UPSA is ready. So.
Prof.
It's what?
Prof, you don't know what this means to me. That I get to go back and learn.
The forms. I mean, all the time he wants to come to UPSA.
Oh, yes. I want to further. Prof says I have to do PhD. I say, yes, let's give it a try. Why not? If I'm called Samuel Kojobra's PhD, right? Yeah, thank you very much. Elegant.
Yeah, I'm sad to hear the news about the gentleman who has killed how many people over?
15, he's 30 years old.
But he has to be checked.
Yeah, he needs to be checked.
But I don't think.
We need to build a society that to be there for each other, especially when these things don't just happen in vacuum. There may be some information, intel somebody may have seen but just felt unconcerned, and we've allowed for these things to go on. I feel sad here and things of this nature, and not the best. But, well, the last thing I would just want to say is that we're making significant inroads in the fight against Galamsey. 9 forest reserves that were completely breached, that were no-go areas for at the time, have now been reclaimed, and that is a significant achievement. However, we need to find ways to make sure we sustain this, and sustenance of this also comes at a cost. I am happy to say that at the last meeting with the finance minister, he didn't say a word about whatever needs to go to NIMOS. And even though you still would have been conservative at the time, then you would have wished that, oh, if we knew, then we should have. But it's a step in the right direction. And I think that there's a lot more that will be done in the subsequent days.
All right, okay. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Let me say a special birthday to you, my old schoolmate, Kimball, Preparatory School in Agran Kwanta. This guy by name Nicholas Kobner, popularly known as Akufo-Addo. They use his height to call him Akufo-Addo. So Nicholas Kobner, happy birthday to you. You are in Impeniasa. Nyamli iradia na don't want to know iyo kezire. Ne mo de wa odai. Many are going to mark you only fufu. Na mo mi said fufu ya sakra from na madu fufu ya kaka mama. Enti happy birthday to you, Nicholas Kobner ma wo Impeniasa. Ne fa Impeniasa ma mu a na to coke be na be share na bon odia. So Nicholas Kobner, nyamli don't want to know na iyo kezire. We'll take a break here. We'll be back with more Tuesday. Thank you.